It's been a little while, but I'm fresh right out of the gate, so let's get started. Today, we are going to be watching Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of Them Sith. So, without further ado, let's watch this movie.
I should have known the Jedi were plotting to take over. Anakin, Chancellor Palpatine is evil.
Yes. Oh, why'd you say that? Hey, well, George Lucas ends his prequel trilogy with a rousing action achievement.
This is where the fun begins.
Alright, this is like the best spectacle in the entire Star Wars saga, probably. The biggest scale battles, the most effects, the most insane imagery, the most monsters and creatures. This is, without a doubt, the best of the prequel trilogy.
You were the chosen one.
The prequel trilogy goes out on a high note, which is something that neither the original trilogy nor the sequel trilogy were able to accomplish. So that in and of itself is a wonderful achievement for George. Congratulations, buddy. However, there are still some issues here.
If into the security recordings you go, only pain will you find.
I must know the truth, Master.
Lucas has still been seduced by the dark side of visual effects, alright?
It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them.
There are some scenes where literally the only real thing in the scene are the actors. And even though the effects in this one hold up far better than the effects in the first two, it's still pretty obvious when there's a green screen scene or something that is entirely digital and nothing else connects. There's a weightlessness to some of these scenes and sequences because Obi-Wan's the only real person in there. Ewan is literally acting in nothing but a gigantic blue screen or green screen, and sometimes you can kind of feel that. Sassy Obi-Wan is on full display in this one, and I absolutely love it.
Hello there.
He's fantastic, and this is truly a testament to Ewan McGregor as an actor because he is able to make some of these lines of dialogue work even though really they're bad lines of dialogue. Like this one.
Army or not, you must realize you are doomed.
Oh, I don't think so.
I mean, he has gone on record stating that it took everything in him to not laugh while filming this scene because the dialogue was just so hammy and on the nose.
I have seen a security hologram of him killing younglings.
So, Ewan, you're the man. I seriously cannot wait to see Obi-Wan. It's going to be an incredible show. He has grown so much, and the writing of Star Wars has grown so much that it's going to be the culmination of a lot of really great stuff, and it's going to be written and directed far better than this film, let's be honest.
You turned her against me.
You have done that yourself.
But as great as Ewan is as an actor, Hayden is everything that Ewan is, but on the opposite end of the spectrum.
What have I done?
Look, when we see him in Obi-Wan, I am very much looking forward to see how he has grown as an actor. But really, back here, ooh, there are some rough pieces of dialogue. And honestly, not Hayden, no one on this planet would be able to make this line of dialogue feel natural.
From my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
Yeah, nothing. Who can do that? No one, because it's garbage, George. And George isn't exactly the best director. He has an incredible visual eye, and he really can build up a world. If anything, that's what really makes the prequels trilogy stand out, is the world building he was able to do. However, when it comes to emotional directing, Lucas really needs to take a back seat. Like, really. It's rough. I mean, take this moment for example.
Something's happening. I'm not the Jedi I should be. I want more. And I know I shouldn't.
he has gone on record stating that actually the way Lucas directed Hayden in this scene was all wrong. Just watch this clip here and watch how George directs Hayden.
And I think when you say, I want more, but I know I shouldn't, you can turn away. You know, I want more, but so when you're saying, I know I shouldn't, you're turning away.
He doesn't bother listening to his actors' intuitions. He goes, I wrote the line so that you turn around on this line. Well, if your actor is feeling the emotion better in another moment, maybe trust them for a take or two, you know, George? He had this idea in his head of how it had to happen exactly so, and he left no wiggle room for anyone else to come in and suggest, well, George, maybe we have it happen here, or maybe this is a little bit stronger emotionally. Nope, he was in charge of everything, and honestly, that was a detriment.
This is outrageous. It's unfair.
Because what we seem to discover here is, in this film, Anakin is finally the main character.
This is where the fun begins.
I say finally because if you've watched my other videos, you'll see that structurally, Obi-Wan is the main character of Attack of the Clones, and Qui-Gon is the main character of Phantom Menace. So throughout this trilogy, we have 3 separate main characters. And I want you to compare that to the original trilogy and even the sequel trilogy, where we follow the same person and the same group of people with roughly the same amount of screen time devoted to them in each film for one story. Luke is the main character of the original trilogy, hands down, you can't argue it. Rey is the main character of the sequel trilogy. Again, hands down, you can't argue it. They are about Luke's journey and Rey's journey respectively. The prequels are about everyone.
How can you do this?
And it's not the worst thing in the world, but it does make the prequel trilogy oddly unfocused when it comes to a character arc and narrative.
What have I done?
Honestly, I want you to think about something. I want you to think about how powerful the prequel trilogy would have been if Anakin was the main character throughout all 3 of them.
Is it possible to learn this power?
If we had focused on Anakin's emotional journey and not on Qui-Gon going through a 2.5-hour journey just to find Anakin,
Anakin, drop!
and then Obi-Wan going through a 2.5-hour journey just to start war, and then finally, after all of the events in said war, getting to focus on Anakin as a main character and how that affects him. Imagine if it was all 3 just Anakin, and we as an audience followed him and his character arc, and were with him the entire time. Imagine a prequel trilogy that ended with you rooting for Vader. How crazy awesome would that have been? It would have been literally the exact mirror of the original trilogy, where we hate Vader throughout the whole thing and then find redemption in him at the end.
You were right about me. Tell your sister. You were right.
Here we start off with a kid with redemption, but we end up seeing him turn to the dark side, but we're with him.
Ironic.
That could have been so powerful. But Lucas was in charge of every element, and he had like a bird's eye view and just oversaw everything and got lost when it came to the individual character moments. That's what we reveal here in Revenge of the Sith. The film reveals that, really, if Anakin had been the lead the entire time, it would have been 100 times stronger.
Ironic.
Revenge of the Sith is not a bad film, but it is certainly made better by the addition of the Clone Wars TV show. This show really is almost required viewing at this point when it comes to viewing the prequel trilogy.
Master Sifo Dyas. Forgive me, I'm afraid I am not familiar with that name.
A lot of these characters that we get cool flashes of in Revenge of the Sith, like Grievous, alright, they're actually fleshed out in the Clone Wars. We see why Grievous has this reputation in that show. We understand his relationship with Ahsoka and with Obi-Wan, and how Anakin may have seen him and kind of run into him like in passing, but he never actually like got to meet him in person, which is why he has those lines of dialogue in Revenge of the Sith.
General Grievous, you're shorter than I expected.
Revenge of the Sith is like a linchpin for the whole saga. Rewatch the scene where Palpatine relays to Anakin the tragedy of Darth Plagueis after watching Rise of Skywalker.
Did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
It completely changes the context in which he is discussing this information. It's kind of awesome.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
And likewise, your viewing of this film changes with the information given to you in Clone Wars. And it makes Anakin's arc all the stronger and more tragic.
What if I could show you the future?
But when this came out, we didn't have that. So we just kind of jump right in.
This is where the fun begins.
It's not the worst. As I said, Revenge of the Sith is hands down the best of the prequel trilogy, and it helps those films go out on a high note. But when we look at what could have been, it's kind of sad seeing that we only got what we got. The same can be said for elements of the sequel trilogy. Those aren't perfect either. But where these differ is Lucas fell into the trap of knowing too much and not filling his audience in on what needed to be done.
How can you do this?
But for all its flaws, Revenge of the Sith is definitely the best and biggest spectacle of any of the Star Wars films. Lucas goes full tilt with his ending of the Clone Wars battles. And these are really some of the most exciting action that we've seen in a Star Wars film. This opening shot is so cool. Don't pay attention to the digital cheat because according to that right there are no ships right there, but then we go over there. Oh, look! Millions of ships surrounding the planet. It's a cheat. It's okay. It's flawed. Whatever. It's still an awesome way to start your movie. Grievous conceptually and visually is super badass. The whole thing with Obi-Wan and him fighting in their chase sequence, it's great. Honestly, the action in this film is some of the best. We culminate with the greatest lightsaber fight in the franchise. Battle of the Heroes. I love Duel of Fates. I love that piece of music. But there is so much more emotion here in this fight than there is in Duel of Fates. And I know Filoni likes to say that, oh, well, the Duel of Fates was a fight for Anakin's soul. Well, that would be a lot more emotionally potent if Anakin was actually in the room.
How rude.
And aware the fight was happening for his soul to begin with.
I know we're in trouble. Just hang on.
Here, we are watching brothers destroy their relationship with one another. And even though some of the writing in the prequels is rough,
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
we still connect with Anakin. We still connect with Obi-Wan to a certain extent. We love that they love each other. And it is heartbreaking to see that relationship fall apart.
You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you.
So, overall, Lucas finally got his shit together with this third movie. It's just a shame that we had to suffer through Jar Jar.
How rude.
And the god-awful relationship.
I truly, deeply love you.
In Attack of the Clones. To get to this wonderful, wonderful space opera. That's what we actually finally get here, is a legitimate space opera, and it is glorious. I do have a couple side notes though. Number one, how pregnant is Padme in this film? When did he get her pregnant? How much time passes throughout this movie? It's gotta be at least several months. But at the same time, she looks like she's at least like 6 months pregnant. So I don't know when he was last with her. Maybe we saw it in an episode of Clone Wars. It was just like kind of one of the times he was back home real quick. But I mean, I'm just wondering, like, how much time passes throughout this movie? It's kind of a big question. Question number 2. Why the fuck are these babies digitally inserted into Obi-Wan's hands at the end? Why couldn't he just hold a baby? You didn't have a baby on set? What the hell?
Howard.
Okay, here's the condition. You can use my child for your film shoot, but I want him held by sterile robot hands only. And then you can CG Obi-Wan around them. I don't know. It's weird. It's just a really weird thing to do, and it really messes with me.
Will this never end?
Okay, so Anakin chokes Padme, and then she passes out, and then him and Obi-Wan start fighting, and then they go into the other room. Oh, yeah. So I want a deleted scene of C-3PO and R2 just like dragging a passed out Padme onto the ship.
Master Kenobi, and we have Miss Padme on board.
So my final rating for Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of them Sith, is gonna be an 8 out of 10. This is a really, really great ending to your prequel trilogy, George. It has some fantastic battle sequences. It has some genuine emotion, finally.
I loved you.
And we have some pretty good performances, considering how bad your script is at times.
Oh, I don't think so.
That's one of the big issues with this movie, is its script, okay? Also, thinking about, Anakin and his arc. It's a script so bad that even Hayden Christensen was mocked because of his delivery of these lines.
From my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
It's not something to be proud of, George. Learn to write better dialogue.
Anakin, Chancellor Palpatine is evil.
That and his obsession with making absolutely everything digital, even things that had no right being digital. Those are my 2 biggest things. I think those are my 2 biggest issues with this movie. Are probably his obsession with everything being digital and the god-awful dialogue at times. Other than that, I love this movie.
Ironic.
It's a great, fun, action-adventure space opera. But, every time Anakin says this,
You thunder against me.
a piece of me dies inside.
So uncivilized.
Tune in next time where I will be reviewing the entire Star Wars Prequel Trilogy as a whole. And don't forget to watch our other available videos right here on the Holy Goof channel. Have a great day, everybody.